In a lot of ways, I feel like today has been the culmination of the trip. Like everything has been building up to this, even though the trip isn't over yet. But today we went to the Potala in the morning, and that's what I've been looking forward to for years now. It was pretty amazing. We drove up sort of the back entrance of it and started kind of from the top and maybe worked our way down. We got to go into the holiest shrine in the entire Potala.
That was a very interesting room because most of the Potala actually was built later for the 5th Dalai Lama in the 17th century. So it was nice to see the original structure and then kind of go around and see some of the rest that was built.
There was a monk in there kind of showing us around, pointing out a few things. It was really nice to get a little bit of extra explanation. And then when we came out, actually one of the security guards started showing us around the whole place. And he'd been working there for 20 years, so he knew an awful lot about the place, and his English was great. Really helped us out. He pointed out a lot of things that I don't think I would have understood. Especially with some of the paintings, he pointed out what the meaning was, what the story was behind it. There were even a few white people painted on the walls there, early English, French, German people who had come to Tibet. One interesting thing about the Potala was it seems like every Dalai Lama had his own throne room. I would have expected one throne room that they kept using over and over, but the guard was pointing out this is the 6th Dalai Lama's throne room, this is the 7th, the 8th Dalai Lama's throne room.
Sun's out.
We hung out on the roof of the Potala, which was a pretty amazing experience. The views from there, looking out over Lhasa, which is way bigger than I ever would have expected. It's huge. It's a really big city. Just being on top of the Potala was sort of the culmination of many years of looking forward to this, and it was really awesome being up there. It was amazing.
Potala is actually structured with a white palace and a red palace, and the red palace is kind of more of the religious side of the building. The white palace is more of the political side of the building. One of the cooler parts of the white palace was seeing where the 13th and 14th Dalai Lamas used to live and pray. I couldn't even imagine some of the changes that they saw outside the windows while they were there. So it was really amazing to see some of their private rooms and chambers and some of their clothing and articles that were left behind when the 14th Dalai Lama left.
Even just exiting the Potala was an experience in and of itself. There's a giant ramp of stairs that snakes its way down the front side.
We walked down a slanted set of stairs that kept going and going and going and going.
And as I was working my way down the stairs, I kept looking up back at it, and it just seemed to grow every time I looked back up. The building's just immense, and every time I look at it, it just gets better. I've been staring at it from the top of the Jokan right here, and the more I look at it, the better it gets. I just get more attached.
The structure of the Potala itself is absolutely overwhelming. You can stand next to it and have a sore neck from trying to look up and up and up, and I tried to get some pictures that convey the magnitude of the building, and I'm pretty sure they failed. Another part that was interesting was at the bottom of the Potala there were slave quarters, and I had no idea that there had been slaves, and it was kind of a really self-contained world of the Potala with slaves and different things going on near the base. So I thought it was a really good history lesson while I was there as well.
Jokan Temple is the holiest of holy structures in all of Tibet. This is the big one. This is where everybody wants to come, and it's pretty amazing. Just when you think you can't go into another room and look at another 1,000 statues, you walk in here, and it's amazing all over again.
The Jokong Temple was built in the 7th century for Songtsen Gampo. He apparently wanted a place to put his Nepali wife's dowry, but it was his Chinese wife that selected the location, and it's apparently on the heart of the demoness that was thought to be covering Tibet, and that is the opposite, or actually in complement to Trandruk Monastery, which I believe is covering her left shoulder. So I thought it was kind of an interesting continuity of the theme of covering the demoness.
The inside was beautiful. It's just so old. The place is about 1,300 years old, and while a lot of it's been rebuilt again and again and again over the years, some of the wood structures in here date back from the 700s. You feel it as you're walking around here.
It's still an active temple here. There are lots of monks, and we got to sit through a prayer and chanting session. They had a lot of intricate hand movements, which I hadn't noticed before. They had bells. Some of them were playing drums, and it was the first time that I'd actually seen the scriptures in use. And at a lot of the temples we've been at, we've gotten to see the scriptures on the walls, but in this particular chanting ceremony, the monks had narrow strips of paper with Tibetan script, and were flipping through them to keep on cue and go through the ceremony that way. And I had a strange connection while I was there, in which one of the monks was making faces at me and going like this, and I thought it was really funny, and it made me laugh. And to think that a monk in the middle of his meditation is trying to get me to smile means I probably have a little work to do on cheering up. But it was a really wonderful connection. I enjoyed the chanting ceremony and kind of felt myself falling into a trance state while I was there.
We also got to join in on one of the koras. The kora is sort of a circular pilgrim walk. And this is a small kora. It just goes around the main shrine of the temple. But it was bustling with people and pilgrims just rushing right along. They go at a surprisingly good clip for a holy walk. They're just pushing right along, and they don't mind shoving you out of the way if you're going too slow. I also walked past, started doing some of the prayer wheels. Got kind of caught in a corral of prayer wheels. Didn't realize that they just go on and on and on and on and on and on. My arm's hurting. It's a lot of work. You got to really mean it to go through the entire thing. But I guess I got some good karma out of it, so it was definitely worth it. Today was a really great day. We started off, we went right to the Potala, finally. So excited to get there. Been looking forward to seeing it for so long, and it did not disappoint. It was an amazing sight from a distance, and then when we got right up on it, it was just that much more interesting, just having it towering over us. Even later on in the day, we were somewhere where we could look at it from a distance, and I found myself staring at it for a while. It's just an amazing building.
Today I'm in the dark core square where I was just sitting down because I was tired, and an old woman came and sat next to me, and she just said Tashi Delay, and I said that back. And we really couldn't talk because of language differences, but we just kind of sat together and watched the people and giggled at certain things as they went by. So that was kind of a meaningful exchange that I had, that it didn't involve translation or words, and it still felt really good to me.